Lindsay, this changes everything. We have to be smart about this.
The night she shoved my hand away and spat, "Don't touch me," burned into me like fire on my skin. I stood frozen in the hallway, stunned by the icy sharpness in her voice, feeling our home shrink around me. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I simply walked out quietly. No slammed doors, no dramatic scene, just silence. I decided that silence would be my first weapon. I checked into a low-cost hotel and let the quiet settle over me. In the gray dawn, clarity came creeping. I remembered the little white lies, the hidden texts, the late nights, the unexplained receipts. Trust had been eroded, peeling away like paint from an old wooden door. Tonight, I would stop pretending I hadn't noticed. I returned home before sunrise, moving deliberately without drama. I grabbed her phone from the nightstand, unlocked it, and read the proof with steady hands. Flirtatious messages, secret photos, reservations under another name, it was all there, laid bare in her own words. I didn't erupt. I photographed, copied, and saved everything. Evidence would be my second weapon. When she awoke and found me calmly at the kitchen table, her face drained of color. She lunged for the phone, stammering excuses about friends and work, but I simply handed it back and stayed silent. Words no longer mattered, her own messages had stripped her of any right to explain. I poured coffee and let the steam mask the tremor in my hands. I didn't leave. Instead, I began crafting a plan that would expose her betrayal to everyone she had relied on to shield it. First, I printed every piece, texts, photos, bookings, organized in chronological order. I wanted the story undeniable, clean, and brutally clear in the way truth always is. This wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was about ensuring consequences couldn't be avoided. Next, I reached out to the people who mattered, her closest friends, a few relatives who had grown suspicious, and the woman who had once been her confidant. Each conversation was calm. I handed over copies, letting their shock fill in what words could not. Some defended her, some stayed silent. Most just stepped back as the facade crumbled. I knew reputation was currency she valued. Her public-facing job was built on trust and a meticulously curated life. Quietly, I emailed her supervisor and HR, attaching proof, explaining the deception and providing dates and evidence. I didn't smear her. I simply presented her own words. Let policies and professional standards act where anger could not. The news spread differently than gossip. It moved like a stone dropped into still water, ripples reaching unexpected places. Calls and messages poured in. People asked questions she couldn't answer without incriminating herself further. Rooms where she had once been the center of attention now fell into uneasy silence. Her friends' defenses collapsed under the weight of her own words. She tried to resist, shouting, pleading, promising change, but the momentum had shifted. Her apologies sounded rehearsed, staged attempts to salvage the fragments she had left. I stayed composed, refusing to validate her manipulations with reaction. My quiet had become an arena where her acts were revealed by light, not noise. Then came the hardest blow. I shared a carefully drafted message, personal details redacted, essentials intact, with family, mutual friends, and a few key people in her industry. I didn't post online yet. This was surgical, targeted exposure. The goal wasn't humiliation for strangers' entertainment, but ensuring her life, personal and professional, bore the consequences. The day HR called her in, I finally saw real fear in her eyes. She tried to play innocent, but the documents spoke louder than her voice. Suspended pending investigation, she faced colleagues who once toasted her achievements, now keeping distance. The life she had curated with charm and omission began to collapse in full view. Neighbors, acquaintances, even old school friends received quiet messages, not to shame, but to reveal truth and prevent further deceit. The web she had spun unraveled thread by thread. Her lover vanished when exposed, never returning her calls. She was left alone amid the wreckage she had created. I consulted legal counsel next. Custody of our shared assets and home, where her betrayal impacted trust and responsibility, had to be addressed. I acted deliberately. No theatrics, just measured steps to secure what was fair and ensure she couldn't manipulate further. Documents were signed, sealed, delivered. Consequences, I had promised, would be proportional and inescapable. On a chilly Saturday, I placed a thick envelope on the table in front of her, divorce papers, itemized evidence, a brief letter. I did not gloat. I wrote simply, "You told me not to touch me, so I walked away." I reminded her that she had betrayed our vows, and that her next life would only be honest because truth was unavoidable. I left before she could reply. She tried to salvage sympathy with a vague, carefully worded post on social media. But the circles that mattered already knew the truth. Silence surrounded her like ice. Those who had once sought her company now avoided events where she might appear. The little lies that had shielded her became visible scars. In the end, my revenge wasn't blood or spectacle. It was exposure, accountability, and dismantling the comfortable lies she had built her life upon. I wanted her to understand the cost of treating love like a disposable commodity. Watching her face career setbacks, lost friendships, and the humiliation of confronting those she had deceived was bitter justice I allowed myself. As I walked away for good, lighter with the truth finally revealed, I felt no triumph in her pain, only relief and a sharp, quiet clarity. Betrayal has consequences, and sometimes the clean, methodical unveiling of truth is the most cutting revenge of all.